As the world faces unprecedented challenges, a forgotten prophecy may hold the key to understanding the future. The Euphrates River prophecy is about to be revealed. It is more than just an ancient legend. The prophecy holds powerful secrets that link to the Bible, historical events, and current affairs. From Sumerian inscriptions to the grim 16th chapter of the Book of Revelation, the Euphrates is not just a river, but a living symbol where ancient mysteries, apocalyptic prophecies, and the rise of kings from the east converge. Today, as the Euphrates literally dries up due to climate change and geopolitical conflicts simmer around it, many are beginning to ask, are we living in the final pages of an ancient prophecy? Or is it simply a historical loop where humans seek meaning from timeless symbols? Join me in opening the door to forgotten sacred texts, illuminating them in the light of modernity and discovering what the Euphrates might be telling us. The Euphrates River, a symbol of ancient power. The Euphrates River is more than just a geographical entity. It is the ancient lifeblood of human civilization. Stretching over 2,700 kilometers from the mountains of Turkey through Syria to Iraq, the Euphrates nourished the land known as the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia. Here, more than 5,000 years ago, the first writing, cuneiform, was carved into clay. The first wheat fields were sown with the silt from the Euphrates. Great city-states such as Uruk, Babylon, and Akkad all arose on its banks, marking the historic transition from nomadic to organized urban society, an unprecedented turning point for humanity. In addition to its central role in history, the Euphrates also appears repeatedly in sacred religious texts, especially the Bible. In the book of Genesis, the Euphrates is one of 4 rivers that flowed from the Garden of Eden, a symbol of divine beginnings where humans lived in harmony with God. Later in the story of the Tower of Babel, the Euphrates becomes a witness to the arrogance of mankind as they built a tower that reached the sky and were divided into languages. From their beginning in grace to their fall from grace, the Euphrates thus carries within it 2 parallel symbols, life and loss, light and darkness. However, what makes the Euphrates stand out most is its role in prophecy, especially in the New Testament book of Revelation. Chapter 16 describes a chilling vision. The 6th angel poured out his bowl on the Euphrates, and its water was dried up so that the way might be prepared for the kings of the east. The image of the river drying up is directly linked to apocalyptic events, a sign of the final confrontation between good and evil. Many religious scholars, iconographers, and modern believers have continuously sought to decipher the hidden meaning behind this symbol, as the Euphrates is now literally drying up due to climate change and conflicts over water resources in the region. From the cradle of civilization to the symbol of the end of the world, the Euphrates is a living testament to the rise, fall, and endless cycles of human history. It is not just a river, it is a memory, a warning, a mirror reflecting the human soul throughout the ages. Unveiling the prophecy, exploring ancient texts. For centuries, the Euphrates River has held a mysterious place in apocalyptic literature, particularly within the book of Revelation, one of the most symbolically rich and cryptic texts in the New Testament. In Revelation 16:12, it is written, "The 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east." This verse has fueled centuries of theological debate. What does it mean for the river to dry up? Is this literal or a metaphor for the collapse of empires and the shifting of global powers? And who are these kings from the east? Scholars have interpreted this as a potential reference to an Eastern coalition symbolic of rising powers that challenge the established world order. The imagery invites deep reflection on cycles of dominance, downfall, and divine judgment. Beyond Revelation, other ancient prophetic texts also allude to the Euphrates. In the Hebrew Bible, the river is often mentioned as a boundary of divine promise or judgment, especially in the books of Isaiah and Jeremiah. These texts do not describe the Euphrates drying up per se, but they frequently position it as a channel through which judgment flows, whether through invading armies or shifting empires. Ancient Assyrian and Babylonian inscriptions, though not prophetic in a religious sense, also portray the Euphrates as a stage upon which God's delivered justice and power was contested. Together, these sources build a rich symbolic tapestry, suggesting that the river is not just a geographic location, but a metaphor for transition, transformation, and reckoning. When placed against the backdrop of history, the Euphrates prophecy takes on even deeper layers of meaning. Throughout millennia, major powers from the Akkadian Empire to the Mongol invasions have passed through or settled along the Euphrates corridor. The kings from the east may echo real-world Eastern incursions, such as those of the Persians, who once crossed the Euphrates to challenge Babylon. Some historians even draw parallels between ancient prophecies and the movements of later empires, or modern geopolitical shifts involving nations east of the river. While these comparisons remain speculative, they remind us that ancient texts often mirror recurring patterns in human history, where symbols like the Euphrates serve as anchors for interpreting the past, the present, and what may yet unfold. This intricate blend of scripture, history, and symbolism makes the Euphrates prophecy a compelling mystery, one that continues to provoke questions about destiny, power, and the deep currents shaping our world. The Euphrates prophecy and modern events. The mighty Euphrates, cradle of ancient empires, is now under serious environmental pressure. Climate change and human activity, especially dam construction and intensive irrigation, have driven water levels to record lows. Studies report temperature increases across northeastern Syria and significantly reduced rainfall, leading to a dramatic decrease in flow. Experts warn that without intervention, the river could be virtually dry by 2040, posing existential risks to over 23 million people who depend on it for drinking, agriculture, and power. Pollution compounds the crisis. Recent UN assessments found that about 90% of the water is contaminated by sewage and industrial waste downstream in Iraq, poisoning both humans and ecosystems. These modern realities eerily echo the prophetic image of Euphrates, drying up, a warning once seen as symbolic, now unfolding in reality. Rising political tensions in the region. Beyond environmental decline, the Euphrates has become a geopolitical flashpoint. Ongoing conflicts in Syria and Iraq, intertwined with drought, have destabilized water management systems and aggravated humanitarian crises. The controversial Tabqa and Tishrin dams in Syria, frequently contested and sometimes captured during the civil war, demonstrate how control over Euphrates water has become a strategic weapon. Meanwhile, Iraq launched the Our Water, Our Future initiative in May 2025 to combat its lowest reservoir levels in 80 years. This program seeks both internal policy reform and regional diplomacy, but persistent conflicts upstream, dams in Turkey and Iran, and weak multilateral agreements continue to limit success. The river has thus become a tangible stage where prophecy, politics, and survival intersect. The kings from the East in a modern context. Revelation's enigmatic phrase, "kings from the East," becomes even more provocative amid current geopolitics. Could it reference the growing influence of nations like Turkey and Iran, whose dam projects upstream have dramatically altered Euphrates flows? Or modern state actors rising strategically in the region? As Turkey's southeastern Anatolia project continues to regulate 90% of Euphrates water at its origin, and Iran builds its own dams, regional power dynamics are shifting not through armies, but through control of the river itself. These kings may now be state or economic powers, negotiating water rights, shaping treaties or trade routes, and directly influencing the river's fate. It suggests that Revelation's symbolic storyline is taking on flesh in the form of hydropolitics and transboundary diplomacy. In examining the unfolding crisis, environmental, political, and symbolic, we find that prophecy and present-day reality are converging in compelling and unsettling ways. The storyline of a drying Euphrates and emerging kings from the East is not confined to ancient texts. It now plays out in dam blueprints, diplomatic summits, and the daily struggle for water. Throughout history, prophecies have held a unique power over human imagination. From ancient oracles to sacred scriptures, they have shaped empires, influenced leaders, and stirred entire populations to action or fear. The Euphrates prophecy, especially the imagery of the river drying up and the approach of kings from the East, is no exception. For many, it carries a haunting sense of inevitability, a warning etched into spiritual tradition. But prophecies can do more than instill dread. They can also awaken awareness. By confronting symbolic language and ancient visions, we are challenged to look beyond the surface and ask deeper questions about our role in shaping the future. In a world flooded with sensational headlines and social media myths, critical thinking is more important than ever. While it's tempting to see modern events as direct fulfillments of ancient prophecy, we must balance awe with analysis. Not every drought, conflict, or political shift is a sign of apocalypse. Interpretation should be guided by scholarship, historical context, and reason, not fear or extremism. Encouraging viewers to engage thoughtfully with ancient texts fosters a more meaningful exploration of their messages. Prophecy, when understood with care, can be a lens for insight, not a tool for panic. Despite the grim imagery associated with the Euphrates prophecy, there is room for hope. The future of the river does not have to end in desolation. Regional cooperation, sustainable water management, and international support can revive what is fading. Initiatives promoting conservation and dialogue offer a different kind of fulfillment, one not of doom but of rebirth. In this vision, the Euphrates is not a symbol of collapse, but a call to action. It urges us to protect life, preserve heritage, and prioritize peace over power. Through stewardship and unity, the river can once again become what it has always been at its best, a source of life and connection for generations to come. As we move deeper into the 21st century, the Euphrates prophecy continues to resonate not just as an ancient warning, but as a reflection of real-world challenges. The idea of a river once symbolizing life now drying up amid ecological collapse touches a global nerve. Politically, the Euphrates flows through some of the most volatile regions on Earth, and its dwindling waters have become a flashpoint for regional tensions. Economically, millions depend on it for agriculture, energy, and sustenance, making its fate a matter of survival. Spiritually, its symbolism still holds weight in discussions about destiny, judgment, and transformation. The convergence of these dimensions reminds us that prophecy is not merely a relic of the past, but a mirror reflecting our deepest concerns, fears, and hopes in the present. In this complex landscape, respectful dialogue becomes crucial. Prophecies can inspire, but they can also divide, especially when interpreted through narrow or extreme lenses. That's why it's essential to create spaces where diverse perspectives can be shared and debated with openness and empathy. Whether viewed as metaphor, spiritual warning, or historical cycle, the Euphrates prophecy invites us to listen, to question, and to understand. Through civil discussion, we can move beyond dogma and toward insight, bridging gaps between faith traditions, academic disciplines, and cultural experiences. At the heart of this prophecy, and indeed all ancient texts, is the enduring power of symbolism. The drying of the Euphrates may not just speak to physical drought, but also to spiritual emptiness, ecological imbalance, or the erosion of human unity. Symbols carry timeless truths, shaping our worldview and guiding our decisions. In an age dominated by data and immediacy, reconnecting with symbolic narratives offers something deeper, a chance to reflect, reimagine, and rediscover meaning. The Euphrates, as both river and metaphor, continues to flow through our collective consciousness, urging us not only to remember the past, but to shape a wiser, more compassionate future.